Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here. We're drinking beer and play a game, and today we will be reviewing Postal 2.
Yes, and this comes to us as a Patreon review request from Spaghetti. So, this has been a long time coming. A lot of problems getting to this point, but we're finally here. We're doing it. We're doing it right. No bugs, no screw-ups. We got this.
Please, no technical errors, and thank you, Spaghetti, for requesting this. Let's see if anybody else likes it.
Originally released to Windows in 2003, this was developed by Running with Scissors and published by Whiptail Interactive. This is, of course, the sequel to the original 1997 Postal, but there are a lot of changes this time around. For one, it's open world. 2, it's first person. And 3, that's like basically it. But it continues the story of the dude and his rampages through the world, and yeah, I mean, if you like the first Postal and how outrageous it was, you will like this. Oh, what a time capsule of 2003 this is. Upon release, this game was known for having a ton of bugs, but luckily for this, we didn't wind up playing it until 2024. So, yeah, if it's been 21 years and you haven't gotten rid of most of the bugs yet, it's just not going to happen. We will also be looking at the Apocalypse Weekend DLC, which does change up the formula a little bit. This game was not without its fair share of controversy upon release, just like the first one. For its crudeness, its language, its themes, its subtle racism. Or not so subtle. But yeah, oh, this is quite the experience.
The graphics. As Jim mentioned, this game came out 6 years after the original Postal, and Running with Scissors made the decision to go from that top-down isometric game to a first-person shooter. This definitely aligned with the times, and to be honest, the game itself really doesn't look that bad. Sure, there are plenty of reused assets, and sure, people are likely going to be offended at some of the model designs, but you can't deny the detail put into the game. Set in Paradise, Arizona, this is a semi-open world game with levels consisting of the town itself, a church, a library, a hospital, sewers, and it eventually culminates in a full-on apocalypse. The levels themselves, they might not be the best looking in the world, but you know what? There is enough difference that you can tell they put some thought into each area that you're going through. And in some of the areas, there's actually a decent amount of destructible environments. And the violence is really the showstopper here. Fires spread all the time, so be careful using those type of weapons unless you want to pee on yourself to put out the flames. And there are just a ton of weapons to use. Some with a lot more damage depending on what you do to the people. So you'll see limbs being removed, heads being blown off. They also have a nice little touch of adding a cat as a silencer to your weapon. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the gameplay and the sound, but these are all details that you really have to appreciate they went over the top with. Still, when we're looking at a game like this and trying to be objective, this was made by an indie developer, and while it may not be pushing many boundaries, it still holds up pretty well today, so I gave it a 7, Jim gave it a 6. When it comes to beer, I'm just going to add 1 because they really didn't have to add all the details they did.
The sound. Oh, what an interesting package this is. We'll start first with the music and the background noise composed by Christian Salier, and it does the job. It's not really meant to be something that stands out during the course of gameplay. For the most part, you're just dealing with ambient noise in the background, sounds of nature, sounds just walking around, maybe some light ambient music here and there. Obviously, once you're in the mall area, you're going to have that typical mall elevator music kind of sound. Also, when you go to your map screen, which you will be going to all the friggin' time. So you'll hear that same jingle a lot. The real crown of this game, and one of the biggest sore spots for a lot of people, is the voice acting. Not just that, but the dialogue. So, is it the best acted voice acting in the world? No. Have some lines maybe not aged the best? Well, you decide.
Biblical proportions, pajama-wearing pagans.
And yeah, just in general, it's so goofy, but we'd be lying if we say that there weren't a lot of times where it just didn't make us giggle. It's a perfect time capsule of 2003 Americana, and that's what it was meant to represent. So, in that sense, it was basically perfect. And I mean, when you throw Gary Coleman in the mix doing a perfect Gary Coleman, what more could you ask for from any game? And one thing I have to give credit for, too, is there is just, besides the in-game story dialogue, almost every character that you interact with, whether you bump into them, walk by them, they have a lot of different reactions to you, depending on what you do during the course of the game, or even how you're dressed, like, or if you have your dick out as you're walking around. There is just, they put a lot of effort when it comes into this, and I got to commend them there. When it comes down to it, we both gave it 7s. Maybe if there was more remarkable music, it would have been a higher score. Maybe if the quality of the acting was better, but I'm almost glad it isn't better. Like, it's a campy game, and it really gives you that campy kind of feel. And when it comes to one beer, I'm just going to add one for, look, man, we were teenagers during the 9/11 years. We can't not laugh at these accents, all right? I can't. I'm sorry. We're South Park kids. Sue us.
The control. Even though this is an early example of an FPS, this game gets the general control scheme down, and it's the one we're all very familiar with. Doesn't matter if you played COD or Battlefield or really any FPS, you will be able to pick up this game and most things will feel familiar. But I would say that I'm going to recommend using the mouse and keyboard for this game because, as Jim said, I played it on Steam, initially paired it to my controller, and yes, you can go in, change where keys are, but this game has an odd amount of actions you can do that you almost need specific keys for, and that's why the keyboard is kind of king when it comes to this game. Of course, because it is an FPS, you do have your regular movement, your shooting, your crouching, but then you have the ability to kick someone, and pee on someone, and instigate someone, and use your items, and then pull up your inventory. So there is actually a lot of complexity for such a simple game on the surface. There's a lot of little things you can do, and it seems like they just decided to use as much of the keyboard as possible. So for that reason, I feel like they took such a simple idea, made it a little too confusing. And Jim himself, he even tried to actually go through the effort of mapping it to his controller, and it just never felt right. I don't know why it's a little off, but either way, the game still controls fine overall. It's not a showstopper, but because it's too complex, we couldn't give it perfect scores. Still, I gave it a 7, Jim gave it an 8. When it comes to beer, I'm going to add 2 beers because this game tried to overshoot in a lot of areas, and control was just one of them.
The gameplay. Alright, let's get down to what it basically is. This is an open world, sandbox kind of game where you're given a list of tasks to do Monday through Friday, and you have to go out in the world and get them done. And they start, they seem mundane. Sometimes it's pick up your laundry, cash your paycheck, all kinds of stuff like this. But the path that it takes to get there is always what makes it interesting. During your gameplay, you will learn the map just through osmosis, basically. You'll learn where different items are, where ammo drops are, where vending machines are, where armor is, which can be very important. As the days progress, the world around you just gets infinitely more hectic, crazy, almost like the end of the world by the end of the game. And, how you interact with the world also greatly affects it. You will be making a ton of enemies as the days go on, and you'll be walking through groups going, oh no, they're going to come after me. They're going to hunt me down. And eventually you have like terrorists on the roofs with bazookas shooting at you. So it turns into an absolute mess. And you can go around killing everyone. You can go around killing absolutely no one. The world is your oyster with how you want to play this. I do have a big problem with the setup of the game, and it's just how much it feels like it's wasting your time. I get that it's cool to have an open world like this. I get that it's cool that you can almost explore basically every building. Like, obviously there's some that you can't, but for the most part, you can go into and explore almost everything. There's a lot of detail put into this. But it also makes it feel like a waste of time. By the time you're going through either multiple playthroughs or even the later days, you're just kind of sick of going through the same spots again and again. Granted, if you put in a little bit of a fast travel system, that would have made it, too fast or too easy, but it just does kind of feel like filler after a while. When it comes to the filler, there's also that level of detail I talked about before with your gunplay, because you have tons of different weapons. You have, small pistols to machine guns to bazookas to grenade launchers to napalm to just all kinds of different stuff. And you can use items to interact with them. Like, yes, you can pick up a cat and put it on the end of your rifle, shove its butt in there, and turn it into a silencer. You can get donuts, which along the way, it can heal a tiny bit of life, or you can throw them at police officers who are trying to come after you. You have dog treats, which once again do the same, even though when you try to eat a dog treat, you start hacking away because it's disgusting. But again, getting some friggin' pit bulls away from you that are trying to attack you is very clutch. You can set people on fire in all kinds of crazy ways. You can do chain reaction explosions all around the world. Really, you can make as much chaos as you want. And honestly, neither of us did all that much during our playthrough the first time. It's stuff that we discovered when looking up videos or going through it again. So you're just going to stumble over different things and go, man, that's pretty cool. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the Apocalypse Weekend, which takes a much more linear approach to the games. And for the most part, between day Saturday and Sunday, you'll be basically doing the same thing. You go through a big area, you get out of there to get to the basic city, which is very much truncated. And there's still some exploration you can do, but it's not like it was before. And then there's going to be like an animal slaughter section that you have to do, and then some other wacky little stuff here and there. Each section takes like about 3 hours, and in between you'll be going into these little nightmare worlds with all these little zombie Gary Colemans trying to chase after you in a demon state. And I gotta be honest, like every time it happens, you're filled with a sense of dread because these guys are friggin' vicious. And weirdly enough, I am in the great minority here, where I actually prefer the Apocalypse Weekend linearity over the open world gameplay. And I get it. Before you comment, or actually please comment, that helps us. But while you comment, just realize I know I'm wrong for liking it more, but it just hit more. I got so sick of the aimless wandering in the main game. So that's just me. So when it comes down to the gameplay, Brian gave it a 6, I gave it a 5. And when it comes to beer, I'll give it 3. 1 for its cool open world. Whoa. Before I get into that, I also forgot about the actual cop system, because if you've ever played a 3D GTA game, there is very much a similar police system where you build up your reputation with the amount of crime that you do. Cops will just keep coming after you, sending SWAT teams after you. But luckily, even if you're at the highest level, you can still try and find places to hide, and it will eventually go down. It takes forever, but at least it's not like GTA where you need to find items after a certain amount of time or bribes in order to make it go away. So it has that going for it. But back to this beer. When it comes to beers, I'm giving it 3. 1 for the open world, which you might like. 2 for the DLCs, changing up of the design. And 3 just for the crazy amount of fun you can have just causing all the chaos in the world.
The originality. So Jim and I actually already touched on most of the elements we think are unique to this game. Things like the type of things you can add to weapons. The weapons themselves. I mean, to my knowledge, this is one of the few games where you can just throw a pair of scissors or attach a cat as a silencer. Like, these are things that you don't normally see in games. But on the whole, no, this didn't break any grounds. It's an FPS with some controversial, voice acting, which if you had played a South Park game up to this point, or other games, Leisure Suit Larry, or even Conkers, like, you've seen controversial things before. This just felt a little more over the edge, and to my knowledge, back in the day, this felt like the groundbreaker in terms of like, holy shit, they're really going for it. So that added in with the amount of weapons, the amount of destruction, just the silly shit you could do, it felt new to the time. Once again, mechanically, and everything you do in a game, from a first-person shooter standpoint, nothing special. It's all the little touches they add, and we appreciated it. So when it came to scores, I gave it a 7, Jim gave it a 6. It's definitely above average. When it comes to beer, I'm just going to add 1 because these guys weren't trying to break the mold. They were just trying to make something funny and added in elements that just happened to be original.
The replayability. You know what? At the face level, there isn't a ton. You really have one ending, and that's it. It's not like there's really co-op or anything like that, but what'll keep you coming back is just, as we've talked about before, all the different ways that you can play this game. You can be super aggressive. You can be super peaceful. You can, streamline the way that you do all these missions. You can become a speedrunner. And there's so much exploring. Like, if you're one of those 100%ers, you can go around and try and do everything. There's a lot of achievements at this point that have been patched into the game since launch that you can go after. So there is a package here. Plus, if you get one of the complete editions with all the DLC, That gives you more content there to do if you enjoyed it the first time around. And really, who doesn't want to go back and have their own Waco? It's already into one game, why not just do it again and again? So when it comes to scores, Brian gave it a 7, I gave it an 8. And yeah, that's pretty high for us for a game that technically doesn't have reasons to come back, but there's just something about it that if it's up your alley, you will never put it down, basically. And when it comes to beers, I'm going to give it, you know what, I'm just going to give it 1 beer for 1 ending. A little disappointing there.
So overall, this is a game I actually beat about 2 or 3 years ago. I knew what to expect, and even coming back to it, I forgot some of the little things that, I have to admit, it made me laugh. Shouldn't be laughing, but you know what? As Jim said, we're South Park kids, so it appeals to our dark humor, and the gameplay...
Racist.
Damn it, Jim. The gameplay tends to overstay its welcome, Jim pointed out. Like, you're doing stuff and you feel like, do I need to keep doing this? Can I just get to the part where I have to do X, Y, or Z? So it's definitely not a perfect game.
Yeah, and on that point, even a lot of the in-mission stuff that you're doing, like I really remember this one level where farmers knock you out and you're into this big basement fortress trying to make your way out of there, and it just took forever. Like, you know, it's this big farmer drug den, whatever. And it was a cool idea, but it's just like, all right, I've had enough. Let's end this. This doesn't need to be a full half-hour segment, stuff like that. So that was my biggest problem, too. I mentioned it earlier, and I just felt like the main story wasted my time so much that there was so much fat that could have been trimmed out, but there's also so much to explore if you really do like it that I also can't fault it there for having that. And, like, there was a segment that I saw where they went back and patched in the original owner, taking you to a virtual reality world to promote the new game, and basically like making fun of Postal 3 and stuff like that. So it's a very self-aware kind of game from people like that, which it adds a bit of personality. There's just personality out the ass in this game. So again, if this is your kind of game, you will have a ton of stuff to love here. Unfortunately, it didn't hit that hard for me, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so when it came to scores, I gave it a 6, Jim gave it a 5. It's right there in that average. It's not a terrible game. If you're offended by it, you might have a different opinion, but like the game plays fine. It has things to do. So when we combined all of our scores together, it's 6.4. Maybe it's generous. Maybe it's hitting it too hard. I don't know. But I would say I would recommend it if you're someone who enjoyed South Park humor and liked those early FPS shooters. It's not a must-buy. Get it when it's on sale. And like Jim said, get the Apocalypse Weekend. Get the DLC. You can get them for like 99 cents most of the time. So,
and most collections now are on sale with the full bundle anyway, so you basically will just have all the content anyway.
Yeah. So with that, guys, thank you for watching. Comment below. Do you agree? Have you ever played the game? What do you think about it? And with that, have a good night and cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
When it comes to beer pairing, I have to give you something strong because this game is not for the weak of heart. So I am going with the Brewmeister Snake Venom, which is recognized as the world's strongest beer. Brewed out of Scotland, this is a 67.5% beer, so you know it is not fucking around. If you are lucky enough, get yourself a bottle of this, enjoy it, and remember, don't take this game too seriously, but you should remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly. Cheers, guys.